Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome into the Volquest podcast. I am Eric Kane alongside Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, and Rob Lewis. Appreciate you guys for being here on this Tuesday morning. A lot going on here. Tennessee athletics, Tennessee football happening right now. Big week, Oklahoma week. That's coming up on Saturday. Tennessee basketball just had an exhibition a couple nights ago against Duke. The season's right around the corner. Tennessee baseball has a new head baseball coach. So going to discuss it all and look around the SEC right here on a Tuesday morning. First, we'll kind of tie bow in Kentucky, guys. Austin, it was a lot of points, a lot of fireworks in terms, again, offensively. A couple of fireworks defensively in the first half, but that was about it. Tennessee, in a game that was never in jeopardy, Tennessee won, but again, kind of an uneasy feeling, I guess, when you're coming back home to Oklahoma, seeing an offense that has kind of lost its punch a little bit since the Mateer injury, but knowing that he's still a really good player.
Absolutely. A really good player, crafty. And, this is not going to be, for the faint of heart on Saturday on both sides. I mean, Oklahoma needs the win just as much as Tennessee does. They're both sitting there at 2 losses on the year and trying to, avoid a third and stay in the mix, so to speak. Tennessee's offense has got to continue to play well against what is a really, really good front four for Oklahoma on defense. And, I'm interested to see how Oklahoma tries to defend Tennessee in this game.
Yeah, you look at Kentucky. Kentucky seriously just said, hey, we're going to stop the run. We're not going to let you run it down our throats. We're going to man up on the outside, and that was not a very good strategy because Tennessee, of course, made them pay, and Joey Aguilar. I would assume that Oklahoma's not going to do that, considering Joey Aguilar was 7 for 7 on passes 20 yards or more down the field. But, Brent, it will be interesting to see what Brent Venables does, kind of trying to mix things up and try to keep Joey Aguilar guessing, but what he's going to present for this Tennessee offense.
Well, I think Oklahoma probably feels like they can win up front with 4 better than Kentucky could win up front with 4, and I think that's the difference, Rob. When you look at it, if you think your front 4 can control and handle things up, in the line of scrimmage, then you can be all kinds of creative in the back end. I mean, go look at what Alabama did. Yeah, I mean, I know Deshaun Bishop got going a little bit in the second half, but in the first half, Tennessee didn't run the ball particularly effectively. This run game for Tennessee is, they're going to hit their 2,000-yard total and all those types of things, but this has not been as effective of a run game to this point in league play as we've seen out of Tennessee the last few years. They're going to have some balance in this game.
Yeah, I think that's going to be crucial. In Oklahoma, we always talk about balanced offenses, but Oklahoma's a balanced defense. That's why I think it's going to be, we're a broken record, but crucial that Tennessee is balanced because Oklahoma has been the best defense in the league against defending the pass. And, that's after, Ole Miss got after them pretty good. The numbers are still way low, and they're giving up. They're one of the top, I think they're third in the league after this week. They were second in rush defense, giving up 2.5 yards of rush. And to Brent's point, I think they're doing a pretty good job of stopping it with their front 7 without bringing a safety down, which, Kentucky, I don't think they felt like they had any shot of doing.
What do you guys think Tennessee's going to do on the offensive line this week? We saw a lot of David Sanders at right tackle, Jesse Perry at right guard, Wendell Moy flipped over to left, and that was the offensive line that Tennessee was going to go with to begin the season. A little bit, you got the one we've seen majority of the time this season with Perry at right tackle and Sham in there at left guard. Brent, what do you think Tennessee's offensive line is going to look like this week against an Oklahoma team that will probably be the toughest challenge it's seen so far?
Yeah, I don't know that they'll be as patient with it as they were against Kentucky in terms of the run game deal. I think they'll start the way they started at Kentucky with David Sanders at right tackle and Jesse Perry at right guard. But maybe they don't. Maybe if they don't feel like they're getting something done, they'll quickly get back to Sham and move Wendell back to the right side, and then maybe the rotation is more Perry and Sanders at tackle, and you don't move as much everybody else. We'll see. They clearly did not rotate as much against Kentucky as they did against Alabama. But Tennessee's run game was pretty non-existent until the fourth quarter. They averaged less than 3 yards a carry. They didn't move people up there well enough. So to answer your question, Eric, I don't know. I don't think you're going to see anything like what we saw rotation-wise against Alabama. And if you don't feel like it's effective enough early, I can see them certainly reverting back to what they started the season with Sanders and Perry splitting time at the right tackle spot. Sanders is going to play. Perry's going to play. I don't know that both of them are just locked in on the right side. How that right side plays is going to be interesting in this game.
Let's flip it over to the Oklahoma offense, Tennessee defense. You've got John Mateer, who's been back. He missed a couple of weeks, but been back the last 3 games. In those 3 games, Oklahoma's averaged 311 yards of offense, 193 through the air, 118 on the ground. They've kind of ran it better the last 2 games specifically, when they just had no pulse on the ground, before that with a freshman and a sophomore. Austin, you have John Mateer that, he's a dynamic player, but part of the reason why he's been so dynamic is his ability to use his legs. Now, before the injury, he was running all over the place. Since the injury, I think he's got about 40 yards rushing in 3 games, no touchdowns. How is Tennessee going to need to defend John Mateer that to this point is not back to 100%, but obviously very, very, very dangerous?
Yeah, again, Mateer is not Taylor Green in terms of, his long stride and his ability to, go 20 yards in a blink. But he's still very capable as a runner. Obviously, he had that stack going there for a while where he had, X amount of number of games with, a touchdown rushing and a touchdown passing. And, he's a good athlete. I do wonder, like, the thumb, is that causing him to be more hesitant running the football, because then you just open yourself up to taking hits on said area. I mean, because let's face it, if you want to tackle him, we're obviously want to get him down, but if you can get a good lick on the thumb, why would you not? And so I think that may have slowed him down a little bit. At some point, though, he'll kind of get going again. Maybe that's this week. Again, this is an Oklahoma offense, as Brent said on the 2-minute drill on Monday. It was good, okay, solid, but they've not been world beaters, even with Mateer and the new offensive coordinator. It's not like that Oklahoma is just all of a sudden just setting records on the offensive side of the ball. So I think just playing good, sound, fundamental defense will be the key to success. And to this point, Tennessee's really not done that. So the question is, can they figure it out this week?
Yeah, I think when you look at this for Tennessee, I think the problem right now is if you're Tim Banks, Rob, like it's kind of like my favorite movie. One of my favorite movies is Apollo 13. But you kind of go, what do we have on the ship that works right now? And I think that's sort of where you are defensively. Like, what do you do that works? Because it feels like if teams want to get it out of their hands early and throw it in the flat and throw it underneath stuff to the tight end, that it's available there. If it's man coverage, you think Tennessee may bust it and you get an easy one, or Tennessee's committing a pass interference penalty. If it's zone coverage, it feels like there's a bunch of gaping holes in there. Like, I'm curious to see what Tim Banks' plan of attack is to try to manufacture some consistency on the defensive side of the ball, as much as I am Oklahoma trying to decide, okay, which one of these things do we want to try to expose, because we've seen them get exposed in all different ends the last few weeks.
Well, Tennessee's going to play a lot of defensive linemen. That's a given. We'll see about the status of Arion Carter, but even if Arion Carter's back, you would imagine that obviously Spillman's going to play a ton. T-Lander's going to play. Jaden Perlotti has earned opportunities to play, in my opinion, but how much run would he get in that situation? And then you had, the safety rotation last game. Andre Turntown played 46 snaps, and that's a lot different from the 80-plus that he gets. And you saw more Sidney Walton, Caleb Beasley. Where's Colton Hood as the week progresses as well? If Colton Hood is not out there, it's Ty Redmond, probably William Wright. Is this the week, potentially, depending on the health of Colton Hood and some others, that maybe you see Jalen McMurray play a little bit of corner? I doubt it, because Boo Carter missed a big chunk of that game after giving up the touchdown on the double move. So I'll be intrigued. I think that they were willing just to throw different bodies out there and try to do anything they could to stop Kentucky the other night. Will that carry over into a game like this against Oklahoma?
Well, go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say, I mean, more than scheme or personnel, the thing that just boggles my mind is the tackling. It's just, 8 games into the year, it's just bad. And the stat that jumped out at me, you guys might have seen this one too, but, Boley had 330 yards passing the other night, and Kentucky had 476 yards of total offense. 230 of their yards were yards after the catch. A big chunk of that was obviously, Kendrick Law on the screen pass for 71, but that's guys just taking short stuff, and it just happens all the time. I don't know if it's, part of that could be zone coverage and, being a step out of position here or there, and you're not in position to make the tackle, but man, I, I need to start paying attention to that. But I guarantee you, 230 yards a yak is way high. I mean, off the charts high. And that's tackling in the secondary.
Well, and I think part of that is when you're out of position, that tackle's a lot harder to make.
100%, yeah.
And I mean, there was a play, and I'm not picking on. I don't even know who the Leo was, so I can't pick on him now that I think about it. They had a play in that game. I want to say it was in the third quarter, but it might have been a different quarter, where they dropped a Leo into coverage, and I mean, they weren't near where the ball went. Like the receiver ran an out and the Leo came inside for coverage or vice versa. I remember watching that play going, they don't know what, I mean, they can't figure out where they're supposed to be. They're so out of sorts right now that, I mean, I guarantee it was coached up. Okay, here's what you do. Here's your key. But like they didn't execute it at all. And I think that's the thing that you have to figure out, Eric, is what can you execute? What can you do to be a better to be in position to be a better tackling team? What can you do to eliminate the busts that you're seeing that have been repeatedly there for 8 weeks? And I think that's the challenge for Tim Banks, not just this week, but when you look at the last month of the season, because I don't want to sound like a coach. There's no magic dust to wave and all of a sudden it gets remedied. Yeah. So how do you minimize some of the risk to where you can be, a more cohesive group on the defensive side of the ball? And what does that look like?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody has that answer. Obviously, Tim Banks is searching for it, no doubt. A lot of people are, during the games or after the games, just wondering, like, does this team even practice tackling? I mean, they start every single practice with turnover circuits, tackling circuits. So that you preach that the first half of individual is always drills. Sometimes you're in position and you're just missing tackles. Sometimes, as you point out, you're not in the best position and you're getting run through with arm tackles. 8 games in, this team's just kind of where they are right now. So, we'll see how much improvement that it could possibly get. Oklahoma defensively in 4 SEC games, they had a sack apiece against Ole Miss and Texas, 6 sacks against South Carolina 2 weeks ago, 9 sacks. We all remember that, their SEC opener. 9 sacks about a month ago against Auburn to begin SEC play. The defensive front seven is going to be coming along. I think that we talked about the offensive line. Obviously, the running backs are going to have to be in that one as well. Could we see more 12 personnel this week, Austin? Now, obviously, you love the way the wide receivers are playing. If the pass rush becomes an issue, could you see more 12 personnel?
Well, what you just said, it's the nail on the head for me. If it became an issue, then I think you would adjust to that. I don't think they want to go that route unless they just absolutely have to. Still a lot of confidence in the offensive line. They do a fairly good job of doing the 2 tight end stuff, which started about a year ago at this time when they played Oklahoma. Right before that with the NC State game, and kind of found their niche there with that 2024 group. But I don't think they want to do that, but I think they're very capable if they need to of doing that, because ultimately you've got to protect Joey Aguilar at all costs.
Speaking of which, Brent, I know you wrote about it. What's this tight end rotation look like? Kitselman played only 40-something snaps, which is good for him. Ethan Davis was back. He obviously scored a touchdown. It's a really good game for him to, feel like get some confidence at least. And then, of course, you have the freshman Jack Van Dorselaer.
Well, and I think Deshaun Brame is a guy who can help too. I mean, I think they feel good about what they have there. I think the question is, it's easy to play a lot more bodies there if you're playing in the 2 tight end sets, but I don't think anybody's voting for taking Braylon Staley off the field and not playing with a slot receiver, given the way that they're playing. So, we'll see. I thought Ethan Davis's impact was significant with the 2 catches he had right before the half. So that's a part of it. And I think he's got to continue to have some run and have an effect there. I think the question is, where is Deshaun Brame in the rotation? Because I think you're going to play those other 3. Van Dorselaer is going to play some for Kitselman. You're going to limit some of Kitselman's snaps. Ethan Davis is going to play some. They're going to play some 2 tight end stuff. But do they play 4 or do they play 3? We'll wait and see. One quick note about the Oklahoma pass rush, which is really good, but South Carolina is 130th in sacks allowed nationally at 28 given up this year. Auburn's 134th in sacks allowed this year, having given up 30. They have feasted on two of the worst offensive lines in the league. Now, credit Oklahoma, they're part of those 30 that they got. But those are two offensive lines that have really struggled to protect the quarterback this year. So I think Oklahoma's pass rush is really good, but maybe it's a little bit magnified when you look at the fact that they've had the opportunity to go against the two worst offensive lines in the league in terms of protecting the quarterback.
Yeah, maybe so. And obviously those games contributed a lot into being second in the SEC right now with 29 sacks. One other note I do want to point out, as the week goes along, we'll dive down deeper in the numbers. Tennessee, when you get into the red zone, Tennessee is scoring touchdowns in the red zone at 71%. So 71% of the time in the red zone, they're scoring touchdowns, 32 of 45. Chances, you look at Oklahoma's defense, and they're holding offenses to 38% touchdown rate in the red zone. 16 opportunities opponents have gotten in the red zone against Oklahoma. They've scored 6 touchdowns. It's a really good stat. Mm-hmm. So creativity.
And Tennessee's stat in SEC play in red zone touchdowns is not nearly that productive. It got enhanced this past week because they went 5 for 5.
Yeah.
So that helped that number a lot. But going into that, there was a pretty big difference between red zone touchdowns for the season and red zone touchdowns in SEC play because Tennessee had more red zone struggles in SEC play. But obviously they got in the end zone with Kentucky. I love the throw to Ethan Davis at the end of the half. I mean, I thought that was a little bit of a wrinkle we had not seen. To your point, Eric, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Tennessee does have to be creative down there, and they're going to have to manufacture some red zone red zone touchdowns if they get there through some scheme, because I don't know that you're just going to line it up and run it down their throat for their touchdown, even though they did a year ago in Norman, Oklahoma with their ground game and Dylan Sampson to end the first half.
Man, I'll tell you one thing Eric, you mentioned the defensive stat about the red zone. They've been so good. It's kind of an anomaly for how good Oklahoma has been defensively. I mean, really best in the league, total defense, scoring defense. They do not force turnovers.
No, they don't.
They forced 1 fumble on it, which is crazy.
3 picks, 1 fumble.
They have 4 turnovers on the year, which is as good as they are everywhere else. That's really weird.
Yeah, they've turned the football over 10 times offensively. They've only forced 4 turnovers, and yeah, for a defense that's been that sound and
especially the fumbles is wild. I mean, the way they hit the TFLs, the sacks. I mean, to only have 1 fumble recovery is that's crazy.
Yeah. Last thing, this is elementary, Rob, or anybody for that matter. How much weight does Neyland carry in this game? I think if this was a neutral site game, I don't know. I mean, this was at Oklahoma, Sooners would be favored. Neutral side game, I don't know. Tennessee's obviously opening the week at 3.5. How much weight does Neyland carry? Because, Tennessee under Josh Heupel since the 21 season, only loses to 1 team at Neyland, right?
I think it's huge. I mean, I think fans are starved for a night game.
Yeah, would be the first night game at home all season. That's a good point.
I think the challenge, Austin, is Tennessee had, 2 things. One, the fans have to come there with a work-like attitude. They got to stay engaged all 4 quarters, regardless of what happens if you give up a 3rd down conversion or whatever. At the same time, too, Austin, Tennessee needs to do something early to get the fans revved up. I think there's a little bit of, okay, they got them in, you're sitting there watching and go, okay, Tennessee's got them in 3rd and long. All right, here comes the first down. We've seen this too many times this year. I mean, I think Tennessee's got to do some stuff early to continue to keep it revved up, because it'll be good. I don't get me wrong, but I mean, Oklahoma's viewpoint of it is the Baker Mayfield game when they came here, and it was arguably the best it's ever been here. Tennessee fans have to stay engaged. This team has to keep them engaged early.
They do. I agree. I think it would be, they've done a pretty good job of going and getting points when they get the ball first. It'd be nice if Tennessee could get a stop, kind of like they did at Mississippi State. Now, they went off the punt at Mississippi State, and then they go right back out there, and all of a sudden, boom, boom, touchdown. But, I mean, you had the perfect start defensively at State. You need a similar start defensively here, because you're right. The fans expect Joey Aguilar and the offense to score points. Right now, the bar is really low for the defense. So, just honestly, like just hold them to a field goal might be enough to get a crowd reaction out of them. So, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, I just think ultimately, I'm with you, Hubbard. I think they've got to get off to a quick start.
Start is key. Tennessee going down the field, making scoring a touchdown or making a defensive stop. That would be big in a game like this. When, again, the team can't think about this, something that we can talk about, fans can certainly talk about. You're playing for your playoff life every single week, and this is one of those big ones here on the schedule. You got to take advantage of being at home, and I think a good start in this regard could go a long way. Hey, college football fans, it's time to lock in those Saturday showdowns with BetMGM. Whether you're betting on the underdog or riding with the favorite to win, take your excitement to the next level with College Football Odds Boost token. Log in with your BetMGM account to receive your token, then place that bet on any college football matchup with your activated token. If your boosted bet hits, you'll score a bigger payout. Claim your Odds Boost token and be sure to activate it before placing your bet. The game is about to kick off, so feel the rush and own the moment. BetMGM, where you can make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus or older. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in U.S. Call 1-800-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369-NY. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP-AZ. 1-800-327-5050 MA, 1-800-BETS-OFF-IA, 1-800-981-0023-PR. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are not withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last, and if they lasted, they wrecked your feet. BRUNT Workwear thought, hey, that's BS. So they built boots that feel great from day one, no break-in, no sore feet, because the people out there doing real work shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. Look at these right here if you're watching on YouTube. This is my BRUNT boot. Looks good, obviously. Feels fantastic, man. I wear them all the time on the weekends. Fantastic feel. Don't hurt your feet. And I couldn't recommend them more. They feel fantastic. BRUNT was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So they built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for the job site. For a limited time, our listeners are going to get $10 off at BRUNT when you use promo code VQ at checkout. Just head on over to BRUNTworkwear.com, promo code VQ, and you're good to go. And after you order, they'll ask where you heard of BRUNT. Do us a favor and tell them that you heard him from this show. We shift gears now. Tennessee took on Duke in exhibition play to kick off the 2025-2026 season. Again, a game that doesn't count, but Duke prevails 83-76. Rob Lewis, great atmosphere inside the Food City Center the other night against two teams that are expected to be very, very good.
Yeah, really entertaining game. I mean, especially the first half for Tennessee fans. I mean, it got sloppy, and Tennessee's offense dried up in the second half, and it sort of became a foul shooting contest that Duke excelled at. But yeah, my biggest takeaway was it was a fun game. Tennessee did not shoot the ball great. Nate Min is not a bust. Jacoby Gillespie is not a bust. I mean,
You sure?
I'm willing to bet a lot of money on it. And I think just look at Coach Barnes' attitude after last night. I mean, if that had been a SEC game in February, he'd have been piss and vinegar in there, and he was just kind of we'll learn from it. Good tape. It's gonna be great for us. Said he was ecstatic with Nate, and I just thought it was just a really beneficial thing. I mean, I think the advent of these games in the last few years really helps these teams in the early season, and I think they're more valuable than ever when you've got everybody has so many new pieces with the transfers coming in.
Rob, let me ask you this: who do you think benefits the most player wise from playing in a game like that? Who was it more important for Estrella to get some tread on the tires, so to speak? Was it just? I mean, who do you think will ultimately benefit from? Okay, this is what it is, or hey, this is where I'm at. Moving forward.
I mean, this is just me. Everybody have a different opinion. I'll say Nate. I mean, just because of what's going to be expected from him. And if Rick had played JP more than 8 minutes, I might have said him, but he didn't. But I think for Nate, just to understand, I mean, and again, this kid he's not a normal 18-year-old. So I'm not suggesting he's going to be overwhelmed by anything coming his way, but he's still got to experience it. First time that, he was in the gym with 20,000 people in there and, coach was calling a play for him, and it was on him to make something happen. My biggest takeaway with Nate was just, hey, he wasn't shy. He wasn't making anything. He jacked up 19 shots at the end of the game. When it was a 5-point game, he took it down, dribbled it down the floor, posted himself up, and got a bucket. And for me, I just think for him to get a taste of it, to see what it's going to be like when, you're playing against that kind of competition and your team is, leaning on you to get a bucket, when the head coach is calling a play for you out of the timeout. I think, being the best guy on the practice floor, or being the guy on the practice floor they're leaning on or counting on, is a lot different from, coming out of a dead ball timeout and, coach is ISOing you and for, off of a ball screen or something. So I think Nate just kind of getting his arms around everything that's going to be expected of him. I think the more he experiences, the more he's going to grow. I mean, I really think this kid, he's mentally, he's different. Obviously 6'10", can shoot it, can dribble. He's physically off the charts. Mentally, he's a different kind of kid.
Rob, admittedly, I was taping the locker room during part of this. So you could say, well, they were in foul trouble, and I would understand. I was surprised to see the Dwayne, the freshman from Mississippi, play as much as he did. Was that just as simple as it's just as simple as it's an exhibition? Let's see what this kid's got, or what?
I don't think so, and I'm just basing that because of how coach has been talking about him lately. Now, once the games start playing, can he play 5 guys in the post? I don't know, but I lean towards thinking the kid has been working so hard and doing well that they were going to reward him. Now, if he keeps producing like that, yeah, he's going to play. He's going to get 6 points in 13 minutes, or he was impressive, and he's been impressive in practice, but not necessarily offensively. But physically, the kid belongs in the SEC, and he gets it. He works hard. He fits in this program from an intensity and work ethic standpoint. But yeah, he was a surprise last night, AP, for sure.
Rob, how much does that give the ability just to be as aggressive as you want to in the post, offensively and defensively? If you really think you've got 5 bodies you can play, maybe you don't rotate them a set number of minutes, but like, hey, if we get in foul trouble, we're okay. So you don't have to play maybe as cautiously as you would if we were a 3-post team, or if we were even just a 2-post team. We don't have to go small to mask up foul trouble here. Maybe we can just keep doing what we want to do and stay big.
I think it's a really big deal. Foul trouble, flexibility, and not just foul trouble. For this head coach, when Jalen Carey goes out and gets you 1 rebound in 12 minutes,
come sit next to me.
Absolutely, that's not just foul trouble. So yeah, I think if Dwayne can play, and based off last night, in the competition, you have to think that wasn't really that fluky. That if they could really have that kind of post rotation, they've not had anywhere close to that. With competent size and length. And if JP Estrella's hitting threes, get out.
Now talk about the post play. Tennessee got out rebounded 48-39. Now 23 of those came from Cameron Boozer, and he's a man child, so I recognize that. But how do you not let that ever happen?
Yeah, that was a big disappointment. I would guess that as we're taping this right now, that Tennessee, that Rick is blistering the paint off the walls in the film room. I think without question that was his biggest complaint last night, was the rebounding, and probably especially the offensive rebounding. That combined with the foul trouble, and I don't know how many of the fouls were a result of the offensive rebounds, but a big chunk of them. So that, without question, the point of emphasis, and I don't think that'll be. I'll be surprised that that's going to be a problem. We're just talking about this, the post, and certainly Jalen Carey getting 1 rebound last night in 12 minutes was a factor in Tennessee getting bounced like that. But I think Felix is a lot better there, and when you got Nate who's getting you 10 rebounds from the wing, that's going to be a big bonus some night. So yeah, they got busted up last night. I think a lot of it was Boozer, but again, I'll be really surprised if this team has a problem on the boards.
Who's the 2 guard, Rob?
And I thought, I think long term, I think it's going to be Berg as your starter, but I wouldn't bet a lot of money on that. I don't think there's a lot of difference in him and Abram and Boswell. They bring different things to the court, but as far as like one guy just being light years better, I don't think there's a lot of separation there. Or at least I don't think the head coach thinks there's a lot of separation there. And, people say Boswell only took two shots. Well, if Nate and Jacoby are going to take 40, that ain't much of a problem.
Only one basketball, right?
Yep.
Only one basketball. All right. So, Rob, the biggest thing I guess Tennessee wants to focus on, or point of emphasis here in the last little bit of exhibition season before the regular season rolls around.
Well, I think it's a good problem to have. I don't think Rick really knows what his rotation looks like in terms of minutes necessarily. And I'm not 100% sure he's even dribbled, got it down to exactly who his 8, 9, or 10 guys are going to be. Last night he didn't play Amari Evans, didn't play Henderson, and didn't play Masamba, and I don't think that was his plan on the front end. Now, I don't think he wants to play everybody all the time, but I think he wanted to look at those guys last night, especially Evans and Henderson. So I think over the next 10 days, 2 weeks, finding out how the minutes are going to be divided. And like Hubbard was saying, if you got 5 guys in the post that are playing, that's going to give you some real flexibility. So I don't know that they have to say you're going to play 18, you're going to play 19, whatever. But I think they have to find out who is going to play. As Hubbard likes to say in football, who's above the line and who's below the line over these next couple.
Who's stacking days is what Hubbard says.
There you go, Hubbard.
You get above the line, you got to stack days, AP. Okay, that's what you got to do.
And if you stay around the line, you just get paper cuts.
And let's be real, though. I mean, even when the season gets here on November the 3rd against Mercer, I mean, you're pretty much extending exhibition play on into what the Players Era Championship.
Until Las Vegas, I think you got several bye games there to figure out what you want to do.
Yeah, you have 5 games to kind of figure it out. So, Tennessee football happening right now. Tennessee basketball playing in some awesome exhibitions. The last one on ESPN2 against the Blue Blood. And Tennessee baseball, Brent Hubbs named Josh Elander its next head coach Saturday morning, taking over for Tony Vitello, who's off to San Francisco. It's been a wild and wacky week in regards to Tony Vitello Watch 2025 to a national coaching search that lasted 3 days. And ultimately, with the associate head coach getting the job and Josh Elander. Really, I'll start with AP, I guess. AP, I thought Josh did a fantastic job, and I know we often, make it bigger than it is. Winning the press conference, I thought he did a heck of a job on Monday, man.
He did. He was, I thought, poised, articulate, had his message. Again, who is that guy compared to the guy that stepped forward to the podium? Like, I'm telling you, the whole beard thing is wild. It's like, it's hard not to be impressed by him. I think that's what impressed Danny White. It was just kind of how he approached things, how he had a plan. It was his plan. And, you can tell he's going to try to put, his stamp on what Tony and he have built, right? Like, I'm sure that he didn't agree with everything Tony did, and or whatever, and is going to, and that's not to say he disagree. I'm just saying, like, the things he would do differently as a head coach. And so I think it's interesting he's planning on coaching third. That's something you see out of some head coaches like Tim Corbin at Vanderbilt, but not all. And who does he add to his staff? How does he add someone to his staff that can go out and help him recruit the way he has helped Tony recruit? I think that'll be a pivotal hire for Josh Elander. And again, this is late October. Not to say it can't happen, obviously, but this is not the hiring time. I think that's going to be interesting. I mean, we, a couple of times during the press conference, gave him an opportunity to kind of lay out his plan. Of course, he didn't really do that because he doesn't have to. But he made it a point several times that, hey, my focus right now is these guys in the room. I mean, he didn't come out and say Frank's my pitching coach, Ross is my infield guy, Q's my strength and conditioning coordinator. He didn't say all that. But he called Ross his right-hand man. He said Frank was a father figure. He's called Q family, I believe, saying that he's known him his entire life. I mean, those are his guys, and we anticipate, Austin, you and I have talked about it for a couple of days, and Brent, we anticipate the staff staying pretty much intact, but what he does do with that other role is going to be interesting. You have some internal options if you want to. Ricky Martinez is a support staff member. Josh Reynolds is pitching, but he's also a support staff member. There's a couple other options there. Or you can go out and bring somebody in, but he said he's going to lean heavily on admin. He said, hey, this is the first time I've ever been doing this, and he's going to go out there and try to make the best thing happen. But his focus now is the guys in this room on his staff that helped he and Tony get this program to where it is. And he made that abundantly clear on Monday.
Yeah, what we don't know about Josh Elander in terms of what a staff makeup looks like who would be an outside potential candidate for him. But he should have a list of names because he's been rumored for jobs. Now, I don't know that it's ever gotten close to the point where he's maybe turned a job down. There's some jobs he elected not to pursue, I know. But Eric, because of that, you would think that one, he would have been pretty prepped for the interview process with Danny White because he has gone through some of this stuff in the offseason. But more importantly, you would think he has an idea of what he thought a staff would look like if he took a job elsewhere, knowing not all those guys on the staff would be coming with him if he were a coach at Memphis or he was a coach at Mississippi State or some other job. So he's got a list of names. The question is, does somebody want to move this time of year, and how does he want to manage that this year versus what it looks like at the end of this year? But he's got – I mean, if he knocked the interview out of the park, he's been preparing for a couple of years. This is my vision. Here's my playbook, so to speak, for me as a head baseball coach at some school. It just happens to be at the school that he's always wanted this job since he's been at Tennessee.
Yeah, just like Tony Vitello when he interviewed with John Curry, and they pretty much said, "What's your plan?" He's like, "Well, I'm going to surround myself with people who are much smarter than me. I'm going to go get Frank Anderson to do everything pitching wise because he's been a head coach before and he knows the ins and outs." And Tony did the same thing, and so you think Josh had a plan when he went in with his interview. I'm intrigued. I mentioned a couple options there. Luke Bontfield just left the program. He's been a support staff member for quite some time. He played at Arkansas. He's been with Tony and Josh forever. He's now the recruiting coordinator at Pitt. Could you entice him to come back and be a third assistant? Would he be the second assistant? I would assume Ross Kivett is now the top assistant. I think Ross Kivett would, we'll see what happens, but it would make a whole lot of sense to me if Ross Kivett is your recruiting coordinator because he plays such a big hand in that as well. So I think there'll be a lot of different avenues that he could pursue. And you're exactly right, though. I mean, because he has looked into other jobs before, he's had a plan. Therefore, just like Danny White, he probably has a short list.
I'll tell you where I'm exactly right. Is the dude in the John Olerud, helmet and the beard, and the guy that was at the podium with the hair and the no beard are two totally different dudes. You can't even see the resemblance at all.
We were talking before he walked up on Monday, and we were, just saying, is he going to show up in a suit or not? And I'm like, well, he clean shave. I bet you anything he's going to wear a jacket for sure. And he walks in, and he just looks totally different. And that's not to say that he can't look like this. It's that you're just used to seeing him with the helmet in a baseball uniform and that beard.
Well, and again, beard, no beard, helmet, no helmet. Clearly what he did was exactly what he had to do. And basically, I would say in some ways was challenged to do when you go back to Danny White's press conference on the day that Tony Vitello left, when he said, I didn't name him interim so he could focus on his candidacy. Basically, you got to go sell me on you being the guy. And I think clearly Josh Elander took that challenge. He answered every question the right way in the interview process. And I think Danny White was elated with how he handled the introductory press conference. But, he went and earned this opportunity. And he probably had to work at it a little bit, maybe even a little bit harder because so many people were publicly advocating for him that it almost looked like at some point like it was this big orchestrated deal, which it wasn't. It was just everybody organically, praising because of the respect that Josh Elander has. But when you have that, you start to pick warts, right? Okay, wait a minute. Look, everybody wants him type deal. And obviously Josh Elander did a fabulous job on Friday when he interviewed for the job because Danny White made a very quick decision after that interview.
It was one of those deals when you roll in there, it's like, okay, well, I've got like the weight of the world backing me right now. It's kind of like, all right, well, he's going to, just like you said, he's going to nitpick. And I got to prove, like, why do all these guys like me? Why do all these guys, I can see there's certainly being some pressure there. And he had some good detailed answers. I asked him kind of what the last week's been like for him, knowing it's been a whirlwind. And, he's like, points in times you're scared, not going to lie to you, scared that, he can never wear the power tee again. And so that just kind of fueled him and motivated him to get after and get his plan in order and to go out there and get the job. And he said that he just wanted a chance to compete. He wanted a chance to go hunt. He wanted a chance to compete, and that's all he could ask for. And Danny White gave him that opportunity, and certainly he went and, no pun intended, knocked it out of the park. So I'm intrigued to see what this looks like. Again, we think the staff's going to, pretty much remain kind of where it is right now. What are you going to do with that last open spot? We'll see. No matter what, though, Austin, this roster it's stacked. You're in win now mode. 26, you're seeing a ton of these recruits, supporting publicly, tweeting out that graphic, Elander era and all that. Your 26 class and 27 classes are loaded. right now you're in win now mode as well, and I think there's a good opportunity Elander could hit the ground running and win a whole lot of games.
Yeah, he helped build this roster alongside Frank and alongside Tony. But he's got to now take this roster and go and win with it. That way it helps him build the next roster and the next roster after that with those recruiting classes. The one thing Tony did a fantastic job of was stacking the recruiting class so deep that even when you lost kids to the draft, which is inevitable in that sport, you still had a ton of talent rolling in here, right? Like, how many times did you, in previous coaching staffs in baseball, did you see them have an unbelievable signing? The kid never got there. He never got to campus. And that's going to happen. The good news is, like, they're recruiting at such a level that, like, okay, when that happens, you still got players X, Y, and Z that are uber talented that are getting to campus.
Yeah, like guys like Jay Abernathy, Levi Clark, they made it to campus last year. Cameron Appenzeller's here now. Taylor Tracy, Evan Hankins. And Tennessee lost a couple different guys at the draft that were really, really good, but those guys are legit making it to campus. And a lot of that had to do with Josh Elander. So yeah, I agree with you.
Well, I think the other thing for Josh Elander that's challenging when you look at this, I mean, name me the last guy in a sport that got handed the keys to an established winning deal and it just rolled right along, right? I mean, like, you can talk all you want to about the culture being in place and you want to keep the same culture. This program's going to take on a bit of a different personality. It's going to have a different, and how does everybody adapt to those types of things? How does Josh Elander make it his own and go and build moving forward? Because there's been a lot of times people have been handed something, just promoted from within in whatever sport, and it doesn't just go seamlessly as well as everybody thinks it will and thinks that it should. So there's going to be a little bit of that kind of feeling out process, I think, over the next few months of, okay, yeah, we're going to do things the way we've always done it, but it's going to be a little bit different here, or there's going to be a slightly different wrinkle to it. I'm going to do it a little bit differently because I've always wanted to do it this way. How does everybody adapt and go to those changes? Because it's just not a seamless, you slide up one chair, you slide up one spot, and everything stays exactly the same. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Again, I continue to go back to what Garrett Crochet told Austin. Two sides of the same coin. I think that's the best way to describe it. Him and Tony or whatever. Like the goal is the same. The aspirations, the work ethic. How you get there might just be a tad bit different because they're two different people, and that's okay. I'm intrigued to see kind of what that dynamic could be. Who could be the Josh Elander to him that he was to Tony? Is that Ross Kivett? Is that somebody else? We'll see. Time will tell. But
what do you need that person to be personality wise, right? The yin to the yang, so to speak, of Tony Vitello was a guy who stayed between the ditches. Like, okay, everybody take a deep breath here. Attention to details, all of those types of things. And Tony Vitello was the motivator, the marketer. He was out there ruffling feathers, doing those things, and his personality was shining through that way. Does Josh Elander have that? Does he need somebody who's got a little bit more of that in them in terms of what his staff does and, how somebody kind of balances him out? I don't know. We're going to find out as Josh Elander moves into this role.
I think Ross Kivett is certainly more like Tony than he is Josh Elander, for sure. And we know what Frank can do during the games. Now, Frank's not like that just on a regular Monday afternoon, but between the lines and game day, Frank can be that way as well. So I still think there's pretty good balance there. But we'll see what this final coaching staff looks like and kind of the dynamic between them all. So should be fun. A lot going on right here at Volquest.com, a lot going on Tennessee's campus. Stay up to date with it all right here on the General's Quarters. The best online community of Tennessee fans happening right here at the General's Quarters. $1 for your first week. Come try us out. For 1 week, all it's going to cost you is $1. If you don't like it, you're just out $1. If not, man, you've gained friends for life. So come on down, $1 7 days here at Volquest.com and be with us here the rest of crossover season.
Or you get banned for life, one way or the other.
Or you'll go see Chile. Here it's nice this time of the year down there in Chile. For Austin Price, For Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, Rob Lewis, I'm Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys for joining us here on the Tuesday morning Volquest podcast.